He came to me in, he was in middle school or high school, and he's very spiritually mature, has always been. I didn't do it. Their daddy didn't do it. God did it. But we call him our little Billy Graham. But anywho, so he was dating a little girl, and he came home, and I said, what y'all been doing? And he said, we've been watching a movie, and we were kissing. I said, oh, that's normal. That's okay. But I said, baby, before you know it, one thing can get out of hand. You've got your arm around somebody, and then you've got your hand on her leg. Things can get out of control. He looked at me like I was crazy. And he said to me, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's going to happen. And I know he meant that. And all I could think of to myself was some of the nastiest things I ever did. Was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship. On a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now. I could get a new purse out of that. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Youth groups. And we've all, here in the South, we've all been raised in church, Did y'all ever go to a lock-in? What little fool came up with that? Y'all know that it was some precious little woman maybe, and they were like, they were in a committee meeting, and she was like, oh gosh, y'all, we need to come up for something for all the hormonal teenagers. I know. We'll put them in the church building and lock the door and turn the lights out and leave them there all night. Maybe somebody will end up pregnant. It goes from 5 to 18, so the little 5-year-olds come out, and they are yummy, and you could eat their lips off. And they've got little bitty skirts on about the size of a napkin. And they come out to Beyonce's, all the single ladies. And their little mamas are in their 20s, and they're not bitter yet. And they're in the front making every move that their little children are making. Because those little children are babies and they need to be at home breastfeeding. They can't remember their act. So they go all the way up until they get to my baby's age, and my baby comes out, reef sharks. And for 2.5 minutes, my baby throws little children up in the air. Broken out in a sweat. Working like a Trojan. And the whole time, it's the most freakishly tiny little people you've ever seen that she's throwing up in the air. Their little mamas are freakish, tiny little people too. I'm from farming country in Middle Tennessee. We grew dark fire tobacco, so I've got thick ankles. I can work in the fields. I don't know who these people are. I don't know how they birthed a little baby. Their little cervix. So these freakishly tiny little children are up on top, and the whole time she's throwing them in the air, they're doing this. And nobody knows why. But But this goes on for 2.5 minutes, and then the finale. All the little children hunker down on the stage, and the finale was my baby. They had my baby hop up out of that crowd with a child's foot in her hand. So y'all get what I'm saying. She had a human being up over her head with one arm. And that little girl's doing some kind of something up on top. My baby was a rock star. Thank you. I mean, really, I don't know when's the last time. I never held one of my friends up over my head with one foot in my hand. It's a big deal. And the feminine boys went nuts. And they wanted her to stay so bad. They were like, we want you to stay. And she was like, I'm okay. I've got it out of my system. I'm okay. She said, but I'm keeping this whore outfit. She still has it. She says she's going to get married in it. But anyway.
I thought especially my very first one with Paula Deen attached and Warner Brothers, it was Tom Warner and, ABC bought it before we could get out of the parking lot.
Right.
And I had a showcase at Laugh Factory, and I knew I had done well. I knew I'd done well. It was one of those things in my career where I thought I just killed that.
Yeah.
And I thought I was on top of the world, and people were calling and wanting to do interviews with me and all that. And then one day they just call and they go, "It's over. There's a writer's strike." I was like, and my husband bought me a dog, this old Beagle that's laying down here snoring, to help me get through it because I was devastated. I thought that was it. And me as a comedian growing up, my idea of stardom is a sitcom. I wanted to be Ray Romano, Roseanne. That was my dream, Tim Allen. And then, so when that ended, I was devastated. I think I went into a clinical depression.
I understand.
And then I got the second deal and thought Matt Williams had created Roseanne and Home Improvement. Nick at Night came after me.
Yeah.
They gave us money to shoot a pilot. What happened with that? Matt Williams said, Leanne, I think this is more of like a kid's Disney skunk is loose in the living room kind of thing. And he goes, and I don't do that. And can you trust me? And I said, yeah. So we took it from Nick at Night. And I think it may have gone with, I say that, I don't know. And then TV Land wanted it. And then I knew the minute they said, yeah, we want it. They held on to it for 9 months. And I knew in my heart, they don't want this. They don't want it. And I don't know what they're doing, but they don't want this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I think people are, when I come out to LA and we pitch in meetings, I think people are fascinated by me. I think they think, oh, look at her, like an animal in the wild kind of.
Yeah.
Look at her. But I don't know what it's just, but I know people that have had 9 deals and didn't get anything, so. All my children are yummy and I'm in love with them and I love my girls, and I know that when I'm in the nursing home, they'll be the ones to come and pluck my chin hairs. Because he is now since married and gone off with his wife and her people. And that's what boys do. They cling to their wife. That's biblical. He said to me, Mom, she is now my immediate family. You are my extended. That's what he said to me right before they got married. And he said, Mom, that's biblical. I'm supposed to cling to my wife. And I thought, why did I show him the Bible? Well, he has always been spiritually mature. We call him our little Billy Graham. My husband and I, we didn't do it. God did it. I'm full of sin. Okay. I've been washed in the blood, but I've been a horrible, horrible person. Not too bad, but okay. So this baby has been just like an old man all of his life. Let me give you an example. He had a little girlfriend in high school, and he would go over to her house and they'd watch movies. And he came home one night and he used to tell me everything. And I said, what y'all been doing?
He said, well, we've been watching television and kissing on the couch. And I said, okay, baby, okay. That's all right, that's normal. But I said, you know, before you know it, you've got your hand on somebody's leg, your arm around, and you know, things can get out of control. And I just say, slow it down. He looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, Mom, I've prayed about this. Nothing like that's going to happen. And I know he meant that. And all I could think of to myself was some of the nastiest things I ever did. Was at the Adams United Methodist Youth Fellowship on a hayride. I don't know what it was about hay that set me on fire. I wish it did now, because I could get a new purse out of that. Okay, y'all, have you ever heard of lock-in? I know everybody in here that has been from Chattanooga has probably been raised in church. Okay, I don't know who that little darling, sweet fool was that came up with the lock-in. Some probably little woman in a committee meeting. And she probably said, oh gosh, y'all, let's come up with something for all the hormonal teenagers. Let's gather them up and put them in the church building and lock the door and turn the lights out and leave them there all night. Maybe somebody will end up pregnant. My middle one, we go and get spray tans together, and I love them, and I feel thinner in them. If you're going through a hard time, go get a spray tan. Makes you feel like a movie star. Okay, well, we went the other night, and this is the difference for you young mamas out there, like women going like in your 20s and 30s and even in your 40s when you still are, you know, have life left in you. Okay, there's something happens to you when you're in your 50s, and it is wonderful. You don't care, okay? You don't care about anything. All right. We go to get a spray tan, and y'all know about Snapchat. There's a thing called Snapchat where you can video somebody and send it to your friend. Okay. Or send it out to the world, I guess. All right. I'm completely naked with a plastic bag on my head. In the spray tanning thing, and it's like a car wash. It does this. And then you do. And then you do, and then you do. Okay. And when it's cold outside, it feels like needles going in you. It's so cold. Oh, that's awful. But anyway, she started filming me on Snapchat, completely nude. Now, in my 30s and 40s, I would have been hysterical, and I would have been in a bowl, and I would have been so torn up. In your 50s, at first I was like, and then I was like, I don't care. I think I may have gone. I don't care. I don't care. It's a wonderful feeling. I hope y'all can all get to that one day where you don't care. Honey, it's wonderful. I just don't care. Okay. All right, she is a beauty. And I know every crow thinks theirs is the blackest, but she's always had a bunch of boys coming around wanting to date her. So there was one that came around, and he was a player. Do y'all remember that, player? Remember? So the young people call it player. My husband's not a player. He doesn't chat at all. So he never sweet talked me or, you know, he's not that way. Solid, though, solid. I've got good health insurance. But, like, he is never, you know, charmed, you know, not that kind of man. Okay. Well, she had this one coming around. He was a charmer. He was a player. And so he would say to me things like, Miss Morgan, you look beautiful. And I'd be like, can I make you a casserole? And eventually they broke up, praise God, because I was exhausted. I was blowing my hair out every day and mopping the kitchen floor. In Knoxville, our children's hospital, had asked me for years to be in there Dancing with the Stars. I want to be able to tell y'all it was ABC, but it wasn't. It was in Knoxville, and it was local celebrities. So it's like the weatherman and Phil Fulmer if he didn't have a knee replacement, and you know, people like that. So they had asked me. There's not many celebrities, so they had asked me, and I said, well, I've been eating white flour, and I'm in a bad place, and I don't know. Because they make you wear a bikini with fringe sewn on it, like ABC. You wear outfits like that, so you're practically nude in front of everybody you've ever known. So I said, this is for little children. This is the least I can do. So they put me with a big old boy that was my partner. He was a doll, and it was very stressful. You had to learn a dance in 6 weeks. You had to learn a dance. You practiced at night, and then you begged for money during the day. It was a lot. And we were going to learn the cha-cha to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I was going to kill it. Well, one night, he kind of flung me hard, and I thought, oh, something popped. And something doesn't feel right. The next morning I woke up and there was this big bulging thing about right here. And I called my girlfriend in Greenville, Tennessee, and I said, I think I've got backed up poop. And she said, because I have trouble with that. But she's saying, I don't think poop goes up that far. And so she looked on her iPad on WebMD, but she sent me this picture of this man looked like an alien coming out of him. She said, is that it? And I go, that's it. She goes, you've got a hernia. So I went to my doctor, and they said, we can't push this thing back in. And so the thing was in 5 days with Children's Hospital, and I didn't want to let them down. And I thought, Lord, what are we going to do? And my girls stepped in and learned a dance in 4 days. Bless their hearts, and they were practically nude. And they had to wear all that too. And I came out in a wheelchair to Proud Mary Keep On Turning. I praise God that Weight Watchers doesn't have a limit on how many times you can join. Because I've done Weight Watchers 9 times. And I've lost 7 pounds. And all. It's because I don't follow it. And I know it works. I really do. I know it works, but I go more for the comedy at the meetings. I don't know if y'all have ever been to a Weight Watchers meeting, but it is so funny. Okay, but like everybody comes up with recipes. Like the other day, we were there, and a woman goes, okay, if you put a teaspoon of cocoa and an egg white, and put a dollop of water in it, and pray over it, and put it in the microwave, you've got chocolate cake. And we've all got our iPhone out and trying to film her. And then somebody will get up and they'll go, oh my gosh, y'all, there's fat-free chocolate mint ice cream, but you can only find it at the Harriman Walmart. and people start throwing chairs and like running, and I panic. This is what I figured out about myself. Okay, I eat, and I think it's because I'm from sweet country farming people. We value our children and what we've grown to eat and what we've killed. So my people use food for everything. If you're happy, if you're sad, if whatever. I mean, a celebration, woo, okay. And I know I've done that, and I know that I eat emotionally, but I never wanted to ride around in a minivan on dope or alcohol with little children in the car. I didn't want to drink whiskey, so my kids would get to fighting, and my husband would say something hateful like, "What have you done all day?" And that would make me so mad, and I'd eat a hot dog, and I didn't even know what happened. But Weight Watchers has a point system. So say you get like 23 points out of the day, and you got to go within those points, and they'll say, fruits and vegetables are free. You don't want fruits and vegetables. When you first start, you're so hungry that you could eat the wallpaper off the wall. A chicken breast is 3 points. A Snicker bar is 12 points. That's what you want. I've been known to be in the closet turning a lamp on and off, eating a sleeve of Chips Ahoy cookies. But I try to stay within my points. All right, my sister will go on it every time I will, and she lives in Clarksville, Tennessee, and she'll call me and she'll say, it's noon, and I've eaten all my points. I'm in love with my girls. I'm in love with them, and they're my best friends, especially as they get older. And I know that when I'm in the nursing home, they'll be the ones to come and pluck my chin hairs. But he has been from heaven. Okay, it's so wonderful. All right, well, he got married in September, and when he started bringing his wife around us, he would say to me, you have a terrible look on your forehead. And I would say, what? I don't know what you're talking about. But he said, Mom, she's my best friend, and I want to marry her. They met in college at Berry College, and he said, she's going to be my wife. And so I tried to, it wasn't anything against her. It was anybody that was going to come in and take my boy, because he's the best thing that's ever, all right, he's like the best of their daddy. He's like everything their daddy can't be. Does that make sense? So right before the wedding, he said, Mom, she is my immediate family now. You're my extended. I'm supposed to cleave to my wife. That's biblical. And I said, why did I show him the Bible? But they had a beautiful wedding, and really, when I got in there and the Holy Spirit was there and God was in it, and I knew they were supposed to be together, and I love her. I mean, I love her. She's like another daughter to me now. And but I was freaked out. But everything is okay now. And then I got to thinking, how psycho am I that I want to keep him forever and have him live in the basement and be a weirdo? You know, that's twisted. So I was able to let him go. And I love her. She's like another child to me. And I tell you, for you little mamas out there, you young mamas that are going through, got a bunch of little children vomiting in the carpet, peeing in the closet. When you're trying to pee and they like slide ham under the door and say, "Can you open this, Mom?" I know what y'all want for Mother's Day. Y'all want an Ambien and a hotel room. I hope y'all get it. I hope y'all get it. When you get to be my age, and I'm 51 years old, honey, you beg your little children to come home and be up your butthole. I beg them and try to hold money over their head. All right, but they're all home. I'm so thankful, so grateful. Okay, y'all, we got a big night ahead of us. Y'all are precious. I want to talk to y'all about, because I am 51 and going through hormonal changes. Okay, I am with their daddy, and these children all walked off and left me with him. And he's so not fun. And he can't help it. He's that way because he has to make a living for all of us. And he's got a lot on us, and all the money's going out the window. And, because we got 2 in college, we just had 1 get married. Yes, but he and I are having to adjust being together for the first time in how many years, before we got married. And so he sends me emoji, kissy faces, and stuff like that. But I am low on progesterone and testosterone. He's low on testosterone, praise God.
So one of my good friends in Nashville said, "I'm selling this jewelry," and you get out and you schlep this jewelry around in women's houses like Tupperware. So, and I didn't even care about jewelry. So I get out and start selling this jewelry. And instead of talking about jewelry, I talk about breastfeeding and hemorrhoids and how my husband doesn't wake up when the baby's crying and all that. I kind of developed an act. And women thought I was funny. And one night somebody peed on a couch, Charlie. And I thought then, I've got something. And I had always loved comedy. My husband and I had been on a trip.
Wait. Okay. Back this up. I thought when you said someone peed on a couch, I thought that was the beginning of a news story. But you're saying someone laughed so hard they just peed on a couch, and that's how you knew. That's how you knew.
That's how I knew. Something. I'm not kidding. That was a God moment. When I clicked in my head, I thought, okay, I've got it. Because I'd been thinking all this time that I'd not been doing anything. Always in my heart, I thought I'm going to be doing something. And I'd always loved comedy. I knew I was funny. I knew I could tell a story. But, when you come from a little country town and then, everybody takes a traditional bath and you go to college and everybody expects you to be a certain, I just did not know how and I didn't know when, but I knew I was still going to do it.
Yeah.
And so my husband and I had been to the Comedy Store on a trip in LA. Mm-hmm. And I watched them. Dom Herrera got up. I'm trying to think of all the people that were there, but it was a wonderful night. And I remember thinking in my head, I can do this. I'm going to be doing this. But I just kept it to myself. And so I start selling this jewelry, and women start booking me so far in advance, like a year in advance, to have these jewelry parties. So I look back on it now, there were no comedy clubs, but it was my own little comedy club in every one of these little houses. And I'd go and put that jewelry out on somebody's kitchen table. And then I'd talk about, breastfeeding, hemorrhoids, and, stuff mamas go through. And the company noticed and started asking me to speak at their big things. And women, it was all women, and they in the audience, and they would come up to me afterwards and go, "You need to be a stand-up comedian." And there was a guy there who had done comedy a long time in this was a Christian jewelry business. And so there was a Christian comic, Dennis Swanberg. I cannot believe I remembered his name, but he was big in the Christian comedy world. And I didn't even know anything about Christian comedy, but he came up to me and he goes, I think you need to try stand up. He was like the big entertainment and I was just a speaker. And I literally breastfed by then I had my second baby. She's 25 now. I nursed her on the toilet in Opryland Hotel in Nashville, handed her over to my mama, and then got up on stage and talked. So anyway, he came up to me and said, I think you need to try it. And the women were saying it, and it gave me the confidence, Charlie, to do it. And so little things, just people came in my path, and I just fell into stuff. And I started doing like little things around the community for like the Rotary Club or Kiwanis Capers. And honey, I thought I was Chris Rock. And my husband sold that business and went to work for a large mobile home company that's all over the United States. It's a Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett company. And they moved us to San Antonio. And San Antonio had a club. And I started working that club. And it wasn't that great a fit, but I was unique there. It was a lot of Hispanic comics and they were all darling, but that was kind of the thing there. And so I started driving to Austin, Texas, to Cap City Comedy Club, which is one of the best comedy clubs in the United States. And Margie Cole was ran it for years with Rich Miller, Dennis Miller's brother from Saturday Night Live. And she believed in me and moved me from opener to headliner for the first time in their history. You know, I never featured. I mean, I may be featured 2 or 3 times, but she moved me from opener to headliner. And let me tell you, Charlie, I sucked. And I had explosive, this is terrible to say, but I had horrible diarrhea all week. I mean, like, I just thought I'm like, I'm going to have to go to the hospital. I was so torn up and not ready, but she believed in me. And that's how I got started. And that from there, things kind of, you know, I just always was in the game.
I wanted to tell y'all that I got asked to do the sweetest thing in my hometown. I got asked to do a charity event for East Tennessee Children's Hospital in Knoxville, Tennessee. And it was a local Dancing with the Stars for local celebrities. And I'm a big deal in Knoxville. So they asked me to do this, and I didn't want to do it because they put you in a bikini with fringe sewn on it, just like they do on ABC. You're practically naked in front of everybody you've ever known. And I had been eating white flour, and I was in a bad place, and I didn't want to do it, but I thought, isn't that selfish of me? That's sick little children. And they raised so much money for them. So I said I would do it. And they put me with this precious partner, Daniel, a big old boy. And we were going to do the cha-cha to Earth, Wind, and Fire September. And we practiced for 6 weeks, and we begged for money during the day and danced at night. And it was so stressful. So one night, we were practicing, he kind of slung me hard, and I thought, oh my gosh, something doesn't feel right. So I went to bed, and I got up the next morning, and this big thing was sticking out about right here, and I thought, oh my gosh, is that backed up poop? And because I have trouble with that. And I called my girlfriend, Emily, and I said, I think I've got backed up poop. And she said, I don't think poop goes up that far. And so she looked on her WebMD on her iPad and found a picture of a man that looked like an alien coming out of him. And she said, is that it? And I said, yes. And she said, you got a hernia. So like 4 days before the event, I had a hernia that had to be operated on. So I went in for that operation, and my 2 teenage girls that are usually so hateful, okay, they stepped in and learned to dance in 4 days. So the night of the event, I came out in a wheelchair to Proud Mary Keep On Turning. And they did that video, that dance. If you remember when Tina Turner would do that and it looked like a car wash. Do y'all remember that? And what I learned in that whole thing, what I learned in that whole thing was that if something bad, really bad happened to me, God forbid, like a bad sickness, my husband and my children would let me die. After I had that hernia surgery, I laid up in the bed for 3 days and nobody checked on me. I've got too much estrogen, which evidently makes you hateful and bitter and angry. And so I sweat all night, just like I've done jazzercise in the bed all night. And I wake up, I've got sweat right here in the back of my head. My head just looks like fuzz in the back. And my husband, okay, so I put it on 67, and he says, I can see my breath, and that's a lie. But he's having to wear pajamas for the first time in our marriage, and we've got 2 Beagle hounds that we're in love with because his children are gone. And so we've got a big one, and he takes the big Beagle and spoons the big Beagle at night. And I've got the little Beagle, the little pocket Beagle that we rescued, and she's got a nervous tick and eats our furniture and our fabric like a goat. But anyway, they sleep in the bed with us, and the bed is so nasty. Okay, so the little Beagle, so he's spooning the big one. The little Beagle backs her little butthole up to my head. And sleeps up against me all night. I love her. And in the morning, I can hear my husband when he gets up, he's kissing that big Beagle and he's going, and I'm so thankful. The only thing about having them in the bed really is I tried those eyelash extensions. I paid a lot of money for those, but Beagle hair would end up in them, and it itched real bad, so I had to let them fall out. But anyway, he came to me in